The thing that controlled your life for years loses its authority tomorrow. Not because someone is coming to rescue you, not because the world suddenly becomes easy. It ends because of a decision you made when nobody was watching. Chosen one, you felt the atmosphere around your life changing before you had proof. Conversations feel different now. Certain people cannot reach you as they once did. Even your silence has changed, because it is no longer confusion. It is the silence of someone who finally sees the pattern. Something is ending. But this is not a warning about disaster. Your world is not collapsing. No one is being punished. What is ending is the hidden agreement between you and the version of yourself that survived by shrinking, doubting, and waiting for permission. That agreement once protected you. It taught you to stay quiet. It taught you to expect less. It taught you to call fear wisdom, because hope had disappointed you before. But protection became a prison, and deep inside, you stopped renewing the contract. You may not remember the exact moment. There was no thunder. There was no public announcement. You simply reached a point where something inside you said, enough. You stopped feeding what kept you small, even before your circumstances gave you a reason to believe. Before this message ends, you will understand what is actually ending tomorrow. You will understand why your mind has felt unusually heavy, and you will discover the condition you must restore, so you do not walk past the opportunity already moving toward you. Stay with me. The answer is not hidden in a distant future. It is already inside what you did, in silence. The only question is whether you are ready to recognize how powerful that decision was. What you did was not dramatic. No crowd saw it. No one applauded. You made quiet choices that slowly cut the old pattern away from your identity. You did not answer every provocation. You stopped returning to places that required you to become smaller. You stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And when loneliness pressed against you, you refused to betray your intuition just to feel accepted. You kept going without visible proof. You carried responsibilities while your heart was tired. You chose restraint when anger felt easier. You protected a small piece of hope, even when every external sign said nothing was changing. That is what caused the shift. I call it the silent severance. It is the moment you end your inner agreement with an old identity before your outer world has time to reflect the change. Transformation often begins before circumstances move. It begins when your nervous system expects the old reaction, but you choose a different response. It begins when fear speaks with a familiar voice, and you no longer obey it automatically. The people who once controlled your emotions may not notice yet. The systems that benefited from your doubt may still treat you like the old version, but you are no longer supplying the same energy to the pattern that kept repeating. This does not mean you never feel afraid. It does not mean you never look back. It means fear is no longer the final authority. The past can speak, but it cannot make every decision for you. Think about the last time someone tried to pull you into an old argument. Think about the moment you almost returned to a situation you had outgrown. Something in you paused. That pause was not weakness. It was proof that the pattern had lost control. Write this in the comments. The old agreement is over. Write it as a witness to the boundaries nobody understood, and the private battles you survived without becoming cruel. But one question remains. If the cycle has ended inside you, why do your body and mind still feel so heavy? Why do you wake up tired, forget simple things, and feel distant from what once excited you? Inner freedom does not instantly erase every pattern built during survival. Sometimes the spirit leaves the room first, while the mind keeps reaching for furniture that is no longer there. That heaviness may be the final echo of your past. Here is the first truth you need to receive. Your recent exhaustion is not proof that you are moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes the mind becomes heaviest when it is processing a reality larger than the identity it was trained to protect. You are not only tired, Part of you is releasing an old operating system. You sleep, but you do not feel restored. You lose a word in the middle of a sentence. You avoid conversations that once felt normal. Things that used to excite you now feel empty, and time seems to move too slowly and too quickly at once. Do not turn every symptom into a spiritual sign. Persistent physical or emotional symptoms deserve proper care. But do not assume every heavy season means you are failing. Sometimes your inner world has changed faster than your habits can follow. I call this transition fatigue. It appears when the mind keeps using rules from a season you already left emotionally. You are entering a new chapter, while part of your system still scans every page for danger. That is why forcing yourself to feel positive rarely works. The problem is not a lack of inspiring words. An old survival pattern may still be running automatically, even after you decided to stop living by it. Your body learned repetition. Your attention learned threat. Those patterns do not disappear simply because you understand them. But understanding changes something important. It removes shame. You stop calling yourself lazy. You stop treating exhaustion like a moral failure. You begin to see that your system may be adjusting to a life where constant defense is no longer required. You need to notice which old rule is still operating inside you. Maybe every opportunity hides a trap. Maybe rest must be earned through pain. These rules can remain active after the circumstances that created them are gone. A cycle can end spiritually while continuing neurologically. The door can open while your mind remains trained to search for rejection. The next step is not chasing more signs. It is restoring the ability to recognize what is already changing. An opportunity has no power if the receiver inside you is too overloaded to see it clearly. There is a danger nobody warns the chosen one about. You can leave an old season emotionally and still carry its neurological pattern into the new one. When that happens, the door can open while your mind remains unable to recognize what is standing behind it. An opportunity is not enough by itself. You must notice it. You must believe it deserves your attention. Then you must act before fear turns possibility into another missed moment. A mind trained by disappointment searches for rejection first. It studies every silence for bad news. It delays simple decisions because a mistake once carried a painful cost. Even when something good arrives, the old system asks what must be wrong with it. This is not weakness, it is conditioning. The brain repeats what once protected you, even after that protection becomes unnecessary. Your spirit may sense a new direction, while your attention keeps scanning the road for reasons to turn back. I call this the receiver gap. It is the distance between what appears in your life and your ability to recognize it, trust it, and respond with clarity. The gap explains why two people can face the same opening, yet only one understands what the moment requires. Maybe the universe is not withholding everything from you. Maybe the receiver has been overloaded. That difference matters, because one story makes you powerless, while the other reveals a condition that can be restored. Imagine a call arriving next week. It carries an invitation, a partnership, or an idea that could move your life forward. The old version of you hears risk and prepares an excuse. The clearer version pauses, examines the facts, and notices that this moment feels different. The cycle that controlled you is losing authority, yet its fingerprints may remain in the way you interpret uncertainty. You can be spiritually ready and mentally exhausted. You can be emotionally free and still repeat a defensive pattern without noticing. So, the next question becomes unavoidable. What weakened the receiver in the first place? Why did a mind that once moved with curiosity become so hesitant, scattered, and afraid of its own first answer? The answer reaches farther back than your recent struggle. It begins with the way modern life trained both sides of your mind to stop working together. And once you see that mechanism, the fog surrounding your next step will begin to make sense. Several years ago, Researchers began examining a neurological condition that spiritually sensitive people have described for generations without having clear language for it. Their work points back to a Nobel Prize-winning discovery about what happens when both sides of the brain communicate as they were designed to. This matters because the human mind does not process life through one single channel. One side is often associated with language, sequence, and analysis. The other is often associated with imagery, patterns, context, and intuitive connection. The real power is not found in choosing one side over the other. It appears when both sides cooperate. Analysis can then support intuition. Imagination can become practical. A feeling can become a decision, and a decision can become an action instead of remaining trapped inside endless thought. Later in this message, I will show you why a simple 8-minute audio process was designed to support that state. But first, you need to understand what was gradually suppressed. Modern life constantly divides your attention. Notifications interrupt thought. Stress keeps the body alert. Repetition rewards predictable answers, while creativity is often treated like a distraction. Over time, the mind can become skilled at completing tasks, while losing contact with the larger pattern those tasks belong to. The researchers behind this approach describe the receiving condition as restorable, not through blind belief, not through forcing yourself to think positively. The idea is to support a more synchronized state, where the analytical and intuitive sides of processing are no longer pulling in opposite directions. That possibility is especially important now. You are not entering an ordinary season. You are standing at a threshold where clarity matters more than effort alone. More work will not help if your attention remains too scattered to recognize the right work. So hold this question as we continue. What if the ability you have been praying for was never absent? What if it was simply dormant, waiting for the receiver inside you to become available again? You were not born this disconnected. There was a version of you who learned without forcing, imagined without permission, and noticed connections adults could not see. That child was not naive. That child was operating with an ability the adult world slowly trained you to abandon. Think back to how freely your mind once moved. A cardboard box became a machine. A quiet room became an entire world. You asked questions because curiosity felt natural, not because an answer would earn approval. Then the training began. School rewarded the correct answer. Social pressure rewarded predictability. Stress taught you to focus on immediate demands, while modern life filled every empty space with noise. None of this required a secret enemy. It happened through repetition. The world often values compliance because compliance is easier to organize. And over time, many adults learn to distrust the very imagination that once helped them discover new possibilities. That decline can feel personal. You forget a word and wonder whether you are becoming less capable. You struggle to focus and call yourself lazy. You have an idea, then wait for someone else to confirm it before you allow yourself to believe it matters. But the deeper truth is different. You did not become less gifted. You became more conditioned. The product research describes this through a childhood genius decline arc. Children often display remarkable creative flexibility, yet very few adults retain the same level of open connection. The claim is not that every child is a measured genius. The point is that natural creative access tends to narrow as life becomes more rigid. Your ability may not be gone. It may be buried beneath overload, habit, fear, and years of using only the safest path through every problem. What feels like a missing gift may be an underused connection. That is why restoration matters. The goal is not to return to childhood or escape adult responsibility. The goal is to recover the flexibility that lets analysis and imagination support each other, while judgment remains fully awake. If conditioning happened gradually, then a new pattern can also be practiced gradually. The question is not whether you can become someone else. The question is whether you can regain access to more of who you already are. And that brings us closer to tomorrow. The old version survives by repeating one narrow response. The new version begins when your mind can see more than one path, compare them clearly, and choose without surrendering to panic. You are not trying to manufacture genius from nothing. You are learning to restore the connection that constant pressure pushed into the background. What returns may not feel dramatic at first. It may feel like one clear thought, arriving at the exact moment you need it. 3 signs reveal that the old version has lost control. They may seem small at first, but each one shows that your inner agreement has already changed. The first sign is simple. Things that once triggered you no longer hold the same power. A person may use the same words. A familiar situation may press the same wound. Yet your reaction is shorter, quieter, and more deliberate than before. You still feel the pull. You still notice the heat. But you also notice a space between the trigger and your response. And inside that space, you can finally choose what happens next. That space is evidence. It shows that the silent severance has already occurred. The old pattern can knock, but it no longer owns the house. The second sign is more uncomfortable. You no longer feel at home in places that once felt normal. Familiar conversations now leave you tired. Old routines feel empty. Attention no longer satisfies you when what you really want is clarity. This is not arrogance. You are not better than anyone. Your values have changed, and your nervous system can feel the difference before your words know how to explain it. You may grieve this change. Part of you may miss the old belonging, but another part knows that returning would require you to become smaller again. The third sign is the one you must not ignore. One idea keeps returning. It may be a project, a conversation, a move, or a decision you have delayed for months. You dismiss it. It returns. You ask for another sign. It returns again, not with panic, but with a steady pressure that asks for honest attention. This does not mean every repeated thought is divine instruction. It means the idea deserves calm examination. Write it down. Test it against reality. Ask what action would make the next step clearer. This third sign connects directly to what ends tomorrow. The old version of you survives by postponing what you already understand. The new version begins when you stop demanding endless certainty before taking one responsible step. Picture tomorrow morning. You wake without negotiating with what you already know. You do not chase 10 more signs. You look at the facts, notice the pattern, and choose the next action with a calm mind. That is the shift. Not chaos, not spectacle. A clear decision made without surrendering to fear. But recognizing a call and having the mental state to answer it are not the same thing. You can sense the right direction and still lose it beneath fog, doubt, and overload. That is why the discovery mentioned earlier now becomes essential. At the beginning, I told you something was ending because of what you had done. You now understand that your quiet decision was not small. You stopped feeding the identity built around survival. But that is only half of the change. The second half is restoring the part of your mind that can recognize beyond survival. This is where the earlier discovery becomes important. I told you that researchers found something about the human brain that spiritually sensitive people had felt for generations. I also told you that the answer reaches back to Nobel Prize-winning research. The loop is ready to close. You may not lack character, desire, or opportunity. The obstacle may be the condition of the system that receives and responds to what appears. One side of the brain is commonly linked with language, sequence, analysis, and detail. The other is linked with imagery, context, patterns, and intuitive connection. Neither side is the enemy. The problem begins when they stop cooperating. Intuition appears, but analysis buries it. Logic gathers facts, but misses the larger pattern. Creativity produces an idea, while fear prevents that idea from becoming action. Real power is not found in choosing intuition over reason. It appears when both work together. A feeling becomes something you can examine. A fact becomes part of a larger picture. A possibility becomes a responsible decision. I call this the synchronized receiver. It is the state where intuition, analysis, creativity, and action no longer pull you in opposite directions. What I am about to share is not another motivational method. It is not another manifestation ritual. It is not another generic audio track promising instant transformation. It begins with research into how the two hemispheres process reality and why access to only part of that system can leave an intelligent person feeling foggy and disconnected from direction. The solution only matters after the problem becomes clear. Now you can see its shape. Your next season may already be opening, but the receiver must be ready to recognize what arrives. The goal is not to manufacture a new identity. It is to restore communication inside the mind you already have, so the person who survived can finally become the person who responds. Do you remember the question I asked you to hold? What if the ability you have been praying for was not absent, but dormant? Here is the answer that shaped the protocol I am about to reveal. Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize in 1981 for research involving the divided brain. His work helped show that the two hemispheres process information differently, yet the human mind functions best when those systems can cooperate. The team behind this method uses that research as its scientific foundation. They describe whole brain activation as a more synchronized state, where analysis, imagination, pattern recognition, and decision-making can support each other. They also point to a familiar decline. Children often show remarkable creative flexibility, while many adults become more rigid, distracted, and dependent on familiar answers. Their explanation is not spiritual failure. It is gradual conditioning through stress, repetition, and modern overload. Before I give you the name, listen to what two users reported. These are personal experiences, not guaranteed outcomes. A woman from California said she had tried prayer, journaling, and meditation, yet still felt that life was happening to her. After using the process, she described feeling calmer and more able to notice guidance in ordinary moments. She did not say, "Every problem vanished." She said, "The channel felt open again." A man from Texas described a different struggle. His mind had become so foggy that slow thinking felt normal. After using the process, he reported clearer decisions and more useful ideas in his work. His experience does not prove what everyone will feel, but it shows why the team focused on the receiver. A team led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City, developed an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. According to the product materials, it uses neural sync technology to support communication between the two hemispheres. They call it the genius switch. The physical process is simple. Put on headphones, close your eyes, or sit comfortably. Listen for 8 minutes each day. You do not need to meditate, repeat a mantra, or write affirmations. If you miss a day, you can continue normally the next day. The audio is delivered digitally by email. There is no shipping and no physical device. You receive lifetime access, so the sequence remains available after purchase. The Genius Switch is not presented as a generic soundtrack. It is not described as a meditation app or a motivational recording. The product materials position it as a targeted protocol for hemisphere synchronization and whole brain activation. That distinction matters if you have tried ordinary audio products before. This method does not ask you to force a mood or believe a statement until it feels true. It asks for 8 quiet minutes while the sequence plays through headphones. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that the next chapter requires more than hope. It requires a mind clear enough to recognize an opening, a nervous system calm enough to examine it, and the courage to act when the facts support action. The product does not replace action. It does not replace medical care. It does not guarantee money, healing, luck, or spiritual revelation. It is offered as a tool that may support focus, creativity, and clearer recognition. Now, consider the price structure. Specialized neurofeedback sessions can be expensive, and home equipment can cost far more. The product materials list. The Genius Switch at $49. On the official page, the current featured price is $39. That includes lifetime access and 4 digital bonuses. The first is a guided visualization. The second is a smart grocery shopping guide. The third is a classic manifestation book. The fourth is a printable 5 Habits infographic. The purchase is also described as protected by a full money-back guarantee. Read the official terms carefully, because the guarantee conditions and the displayed price should always be confirmed before you decide. The product page warns that the $39 price may increase. That is the only urgency you need to consider. There is no need to panic, and there is no promise that buying today will create a miracle tomorrow. The more important cost is remaining in the same fog while opportunities keep moving. A useful idea can arrive and disappear. A meaningful invitation can look ordinary. A clear next step can be delayed until fear turns it into another memory. There is also a counterfeit warning. The product materials say the official version is distributed through the official website, not through Amazon, YouTube, or Spotify. Random tracks using similar language may not contain the same sequence. You can review the full details through the official link in the description or the pinned comment. Read the research references, the protocol, the guarantee, and the terms for yourself. Then make a decision that respects both your intuition and your judgment. A clearer receiver does not make the world perfect. It changes how you meet the world. You begin to notice the difference between real danger and an old alarm. You stop confusing urgency with truth, and you give yourself enough space to choose. Picture tomorrow morning. You wake up in the same room. Your responsibilities are still waiting. But before the noise begins, you give yourself 8 quiet minutes. Then, write down the one decision you have avoided. Nothing dramatic has to happen. You answer one message honestly. You decline one invitation that drains you. You follow one idea far enough to discover whether it deserves your energy. In an important conversation, the old pattern may appear. Your body may tense. Your mind may prepare the usual defense. But this time, you recognize the pattern before it becomes your response, and that recognition gives you another choice. You may also notice an idea arriving with unusual simplicity. Instead of dismissing it, you record it. You examine the facts. You take one responsible step, because clarity has finally become more persuasive than fear. This is the role of a supportive practice. It cannot make the decision for you. It cannot replace medical care, honest reflection, or real action. No audio track can promise that every problem will disappear, but a consistent protocol may help create a calmer space for attention. It may support focus. It may help you notice connections, that constant noise once buried. That is the trust bridge. You are not being asked to surrender discernment. You are being asked to use it. Read the information. Examine the terms. Compare the claims with your own needs and circumstances. The next chapter does not require blind belief. It requires participation. A clearer mind can recognize a door, but your hand must still reach for the handle. So imagine the shift in practical terms. You listen. You reflect. You choose. You act. The world may not become easier overnight, but you become less available to the pattern that made every choice feel impossible. What changes when the receiver changes? You stop waiting for certainty to remove every risk. You become willing to take the next honest step with the information you have. That is how a new season becomes more than an idea. You may still feel resistance. That is natural. Maybe you have already tried brainwave tracks. You listened for a few days and felt nothing. The distinction offered here is that the genius switch is presented as a targeted synchronization sequence, not a random frequency labeled for genius or manifestation. That does not guarantee a result. It simply explains how the product is positioned. You may also think that $39 is still real money. It is. Your financial situation deserves respect. Do not spend money needed for food, housing, medicine, debt payments, or any essential responsibility. The guarantee is designed to reduce financial risk, but it is not proof that the product will work for everyone. Read the refund conditions on the official page. Confirm the current price. Another part of you may say this sounds too good to be true. Keep that part awake. You do not need to believe every sentence you hear. Review the research references and separate the established split-brain foundation from claims about individual results. The Nobel Prize-winning research does not directly prove that one commercial audio product will transform your life. User stories are personal reports, not universal evidence. You may believe you have no time. 8 minutes is brief, but even 8 minutes requires consistency. Attach it to a routine you already have, such as the beginning of your morning or the quiet period before sleep. Missing a day does not erase your progress. Resume when you can and pay attention to whether the habit supports calm, focus, or clearer decisions over time. The question is no longer whether the old cycle is ending. It is whether you will enter the next one with the same mental pattern that kept you from recognizing what was available in the last one. A new door does not change a life when the person standing before it believes every door will close. This is why your decision must involve both intuition and judgment, not pressure, fear, or manufactured urgency. You can review the Genius Switch through the official link in the description or the pinned comment. Confirm the price, lifetime access, bonuses, guarantee, and all current terms directly on that page. Then decide from clarity. You do not need to prove that you are chosen by buying anything. The real sign is your willingness to stop abandoning your own discernment, especially when hope and caution must stand together. Now the primary loop can close. What did you do that caused the old cycle to lose its authority? You stopped asking the past for permission to become someone new. You endured without allowing pain to turn you into the thing that hurt you. You saw the pattern. You named it, and once you truly recognized it, you could no longer pretend that repeating it was your only choice. That is why tomorrow matters. Tomorrow is not a supernatural deadline. It is not a promise that money, love, or recognition will arrive within 24 hours. Tomorrow is the first day after the truth has been spoken clearly. It is the first day you can no longer return to the old agreement without knowing exactly what you are doing. The room may look the same, the phone may hold the same messages, the responsibilities may still be waiting, but your relationship with them can change, because fear no longer receives automatic authority over every decision. This is your declaration. Say it slowly. The old agreement ends with me. I will not carry yesterday's pattern into tomorrow's opportunity. I will recognize what is mine to do, and I will act with clarity when the moment comes. You do not need to chase every sign. Not every coincidence is instruction. Not every repeated thought is truth. The sacred does not require you to abandon reason, facts, boundaries, or careful judgment. Walk calmly. Verify what can be verified. Give your attention to what produces clarity instead of panic. A real new beginning does not need constant fear to keep you moving. Tomorrow, nothing outside you may look different at first. The same room may surround you. The same phone may be beside you. The same responsibilities may still be waiting. But the agreement that gave those things power over your identity will be gone. And when the old pattern reaches for you one final time, remember this. It is not returning because the message was wrong. It is returning because it knows this is the last night you will answer to it.